This is the Trading Psychology Podcast. This is VP, creator of No Nonsense Forex and author of the book No Nonsense Forex Trading Psychology. And with me, as he is every episode, hipsters call him detached. It's Rob Reinhold.
Well, thanks, Patrick. And these hipsters, were they making and churning their own butter when they're saying this? Or were they riding one of those ridiculous bicycles, that has one wheel that's way bigger than the other?
The fixed wheel or the high wheel, yeah. They're also making craft cocktails, so maybe they care more than we think they do. But either way, this, if you haven't figured it out, this is all about detachment and how important it is, and how I think really, Rob, this is a natural progression traders go through anyway. Especially if they actually get good at this over time, God forbid. So I feel like if we can accelerate the process here and just tell you, look, coming out the other side, as you and I both have, and getting to this level of detachment has been not only tremendous for our overall trading, but for our well-being at the same time. So let's go ahead and define terms here. I've always thought, I feel like it's pretty simple. Detachment is just simply detaching yourself from the outcome of something, outcome independence, not caring. And just, the results are going to be what they are no matter what. Me caring more or less is not going to affect that. And if anything, me caring too much is probably going to affect it in a negative way. So the best thing to do, obviously, is just to simply detach myself altogether.
The biggest problem with that is, and I've said this for years, and I've learned this throughout my life, how much something matters to you is directly proportional to how much time and effort you put into it. And I always use this for kids. If any of you have had kids out there, kids are hard. They take so much work. They wake up in the middle of the night for years. They throw up on you. They leave messes. You have to change diapers. It is so incredibly, we're talking like 2 decades that you're raising these kids, 2 decades. And every time they talk back to you, they flip you off, like all these things. And you put so much time and effort into it. It's why parenting is so great, is because when they actually do something or turn out to be great human beings, like, it matters so much to you because of the time and effort you've put into it. Now, I put in the most time and effort into being a parent, but second, I put in the most time and effort of being a trader. And trading matters a lot to me. It matters so much. However, if I really, really have that, again, where it matters, I am definitely going to make some mistakes because of it. And that's really what this episode is about.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on what you just said, but I feel like it's better suited for the solution section. So spoiler alert, we will get there at some point. But as we finish defining terms here, you wrote something on the outline that I really like here. It says you're going to make thousands of decisions in trading. And your goal really is to make slightly better decisions 50% of the time. Now, the good news here, Rob, is you should have some type of system in place that will make these decisions for you, which I think makes it even easier to detach yourself from everything.
You're exactly right. But again, we still have to make that decision in the beginning so we can then back test it. Then we can demo test it, and then we can actually test it. So at some point there is a decision, and it's in the end, you want to be very robotic. But in the beginning of trading, you have all these decisions to make. What time frame are you going to trade? What setups are you going to trade? What type of style of a trader are you going to be? There are so many decisions to make in the beginning. It can be really overwhelming.
Yeah, and I like what you said there, because especially in the early days when I was building systems, not only did I have this personal attachment to them because they were mine and nobody else's, I also, you sit there and back test and you do it by hand. Like this is before I knew how to do it automatically. And you just get so excited at the possibility of what could be. And that excitement absolutely carries over into your actual trading, because now you have all these crazy expectations. This is a really bad combination. So I think this episode applies to a lot of people in different stages of their trading development. So let's go ahead and transition that into the problems that everybody either has right now or is going to have absolutely, when it comes to their trading. And the very first one you put on here, Rob, was screen watching causes feelings and emotions. And I not only thought about this when it came to trading, but it's kind of a generational thing. So many people nowadays, especially the younger generations, love to go on social media and do something called doom scroll, where they take in all of these inputs and all of these horrible realities or sub-realities or complete misinformation, whatever it is, and they just do it to get some type of feeling out of it. And I guess we've been doing this for a while. We just didn't put a label on it. But either way, it's pretty awful. I can say from my life, when I detach myself from all types of media, I am generally happier, and things don't affect me nearly as they would otherwise. What can you say to that?
I think that is a perfect analogy of detachment. Things are happening out there in the world, and politically, religiously, your friends and family, whatever they're doing, all these things are happening out there. And the more you feed it, the more you watch it and get into it. And it's just like, let's take something that I think everyone can understand. Let's say you've got some family drama. You got a mother and a aunt who are fighting or something. You can get into that drama and you can be part of it. But that's so negative for you. And I know a lot of times we get dragged into these things where we don't want to be in there. But it's not going to be good for you as a person. So detachment is how do you extract yourself from that situation? How do you extract yourself from a situation that will cause you emotional pain? And this goes into social media. I remember hearing years ago someone say, oh, you know what? I just had to take a break from social media for my mental health. And I remember thinking, how hard is it just to turn it off? Like, duh, just turn it off. And then literally like a year or two later, I'm like, I need to take a break. This isn't good for my mental health. And I realized that, feeding it, the more you feed it, the more you are sucked in there and the more you care about it. And bringing this back to trading, the more you watch that screen, the more you're feeding it.
So true. And I think the problem comes, at least on the social media side, let me tackle that first, is a lot of us have made this such a part of our day that it's what we do as soon as we wake up. It's what we do when we're on the toilet. It's what we do if we take public transportation. Because, we used to not really be able to fill that gap. We used to use our imaginations to come up with whatever because we didn't have what we have today. But now it fills that void just almost too easily. And so detaching is really hard. And I want to say, too, when the example you brought up about family issues, deciding to detach doesn't mean you don't care. And I think that's why a lot of people choose not to detach, is because they would seem like, they're not invested and they don't really care about the situation. You can still care about it. Sometimes the best thing to do is to take yourself out of it and make the situation less complicated. Because I don't know about you, Rob, I often have very differing opinions from family and friends. I've always kind of been that odd person who has this different take. Is that opposite contrarian take normally appreciated when emotions are high? No. It's absolutely unwanted. So I know that if there's ever a dispute going on, taking myself completely out of it is 100% the right way to go. Do you have anything to say to that? I'm curious before I get to the trading part, because I did spend a bit of time on that.
Yes, and this just reminds me of saying I heard a long time ago, and I actually think it was from Dr. Phil. That's how old I'm dating myself. I know Dr. Phil's still around, but he hasn't done a show for years. But Dr. Phil said, it takes two people to fight in an argument. And he said in one day he just stopped fighting. And he never had any more arguments. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is so true. This is detachment. This is absolutely detachment to protect yourself from these situations.
Yeah, and I can say just a little sidebar here too. In dating relationships, it usually comes down to whoever is the least attached wins. I'm not going to take it much further than that. All I can say is being outcome independent has served me very well to where I was very outcome dependent in the past, and I would always wonder why my relationships never really took shape the way I wanted to. All it took was for me just to stop caring, or at least stop giving off the idea, that I really care this much. Even if I did, going back to the whole family thing, you might care about what's going on, but that doesn't mean you should be in it. And so this applies to so many different aspects of life. But trading, I agree. And I go back to when I was, trading the 15-minute and 30-minute chart. And, you start seeing price move. And you see it moving a lot. That really triggers something in you, whether it's going your direction, whether it's not, whether it's about to give you a signal. No matter what, that shit is exciting. Being a part of the financial machine and watching it in real time and having it all queued up on your chart, that was really such a rush for me. But man, did it never do me any favors long term. And I feel like that exact phenomenon has affected everybody at some point in time.
Hey, Patrick, I'm going to get back to your dating history, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
All right. I really wanted to cover this because I actually think it's a really great segue into trading. Is that, when you're dating, you have all of these fantasies and you have all of these predetermined outcomes that you want. We all want to find someone to fall in love with. We all want to find someone who we find attractive. We all want to find someone who has shared interests and hobbies. And so we have all these expectations of what is going to happen. And a lot of times, people care more about those expectations than they do about the actual human being that they're in a relationship with. And I remember my brother, when he was in marriage counseling, he was talking about all these expectations. And the therapist said, yeah, those expectations, they're a real bitch, aren't they? And basically, they told him that his expectations were unreasonable and that he just needed to focus on who that person was. And I think in dating, if you just put all that aside, all the things, hey, I want 4 kids, I want this, I want this, I want this, and just focus on the person in front of you, I actually think you'll get all those things. Segue this into trading, because I think it's a great segue. We all got into trading for all these reasons. We wanted freedom, we wanted to be travel, we wanted to do all these things. And when it comes right down to it, when you're focusing on those expectations, you lose what you're actually trying to do. When you just focus on the moment, focus on the not person in front of you, but the market in front of you, you really can get away from a lot of this issues that causes you to make mistakes.
Yeah, so many people on my channel would ask me, what my expectations are year after year. Like, what percentage gain should I shoot for? And I told them, you shouldn't shoot for anything. I mean, I said before, I like to try and beat Buffett's average, but if I don't, I don't. Sometimes the market's not going to allow that. 2019, I guarantee you there were 0 trend traders out there that beat Buffett's average. It just wasn't there. There's nothing you could, maybe if you were a scalper, maybe, but if you trade the way I do, the market's only going to give you what it's going to give you. It's up to you to maximize it, right? And so once I realized that, it took the sting out of having a down year like I did. It wasn't negative, but it was very disappointing in 2019. And I was like, all right, I don't think this is going to be the way things are going forward. So I didn't have any expectation there. And I said, let's just keep on trucking and just keep doing it and see what happens. And over time, as anybody who's been in the game for that long knows, it did get better. So yeah, the whole lack of expectations thing is really huge. That's something else I did when I was younger. If we were just going up like on a weekend trip or something like that, I had all these crazy expectations about how awesome it was going to be. And if the trip didn't meet every one of those expectations, then I was upset about it, because I didn't get to take a whole lot of weekend trips. So I thought, all right, this has to be this. And the problem is you're relying on all these other people to make it that way. And people have different desires and interests and levels of motivation than you do. And it's so unrealistic. So yeah, like we're kind of saying, you don't focus on a hopeful outcome. Just do the damn thing and see what happens at the end. If you've done your testing right and you're doing everything right on your end, over time you should be just fine.
This reminds me of one of the very first trading books I ever got a hold of. It was called The Wall Street Money Machine by Wade Cook. Don't look Wade Cook up. He does not have a great reputation, but he's the one who really got me interested into trading, into learning about all the things I could do, especially with options. He wrote a book, and I loved this book. It said, don't set goals, just do it. And this is kind of the same idea. And he talked about how when people sit around and setting goals, they're thinking about all the things that are going to happen. And he's like, no, you're missing the point. Just do it. Just do the actions. And that's how you get the expectations. And Patrick, I love when we start these episodes and we kind of have a framework, and then it actually goes off the rails, but in such a great way. I mean, you could just do a subtopic of this called no expectations, because that actually is the key.
And I thought about it. I was almost like, Rob, let's cut that part out and make it an episode. But I think it fits really, really well here. I think this episode wouldn't be what it is if we didn't include that as well. And expectations are so hard too in this type of trading, because you take so many losses in trading, and your account, as soon as you think you're going to be on par for this type of year, that's almost exactly when a string of losses comes and just pulls you right back down to earth. And what does that do to you? You can't let this affect you. Just like we said when you were just talking, Rob, it reminded me of our episode Systems Over Goals, which I've gotten a lot of very positive feedback on. That's kind of what this comes down to. If you let the system trade instead of you, that's the game right there. That's how you detach. And so I want to have that kind of transition into the solutions part of this episode. Before we do, Rob, do you have anything else to say on the problem side? I feel like we've covered it pretty good. Lack of over screen watching. Obviously, we know emotions kill results. How do we do that? The problems such as setting expectations, which is never, in my opinion, ever been a great idea. Understanding you're going to take a lot of losses in trading, so how do you handle that? I feel like that's a good transition into solutions, but I want to make sure we have everything covered.
I think you covered everything, but just to wrap it all up in a bow, is that this is something we all care about deeply. We care about it so much. And especially if you've been doing this for years and you've put in lots of time and effort into it, you care a lot. How do you guard against that caring undermining your results? And that's really the problems, is that you're going to care so much that you're going to make pretty much every mistake in the book. So how do you detach from that passion, that feeling, that want, that desire, that ambition? How do you detach from those to where you can actually run a good system? So let's get into the solutions.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I feel like this is a battle that I have won a while ago, because on my side, honestly, and I've mentioned this on the show before, I really don't care anymore. I know that if I do the work, it's going to come out fine. And so I really have almost no emotion at all towards my results. And we're going to go over some of the reasons why here in the solutions. Now, the first one, and this is something I actually came up with on the show over time. I was never able to articulate this as well as I wanted to, but simply going into your trading and just treating it like a random, low-paying, soul-sucking data entry job. Just look at the information. It'll tell you what you have to do. Enter the data, close up, and leave. Simple as that. If you can just it's so easier said than done, I know that. But if you can just take this approach to your trading, the quicker you can get here, in my opinion, the better.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And the market is going to do what it does. And I think one of the big keys to basically clocking in, putting in your work, and then clocking out is to really just understand that the market is the market. And sometimes the market is boring, sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's choppy, sometimes it's smooth. To understand all of these things, and I wish that you could just understand them right away. This is now my 28th year of trading. Every day I wake up, I turn on CNBC, I jump in the shower, and I get caught up with what's happened. I've been doing this for 28 years. I have seen crashes, I've seen panics, I've seen bubbles, I've seen slow markets, I've seen fast markets. And I've always told our traders that once you view trading as boring, you've made it. And other than just going through it and seeing it for yourself, I can't impart any wisdom on you. But the quicker you can get to understand that markets are markets, everything is the same, really. Even though we have new things like AI is new, guess what? Stocks still just go up, down, and sideways. Forex just goes up, down, and sideways. That's all it's ever going to do. The stories are a little different, but it's all the same. You are just trying to fit your strategy into the current market regime, take some money out of it, and move on to the next one. To understand that perspective, like I said, I wish I could give you wave some magic wand to make you understand it, but just as you've been doing this for a couple of years, it's all the same. It's all the exact same thing, so you don't have to get excited about anything.
And speaking of people who detach very poorly, I've always gotten great joy and happiness in watching CNBC anchors flip out when the market turns down, as if that's not supposed to happen, as if the market is only supposed to go up all the time, and there's something wrong with the time-space continuum when we actually see a pullback or, God forbid, a recession. I don't know, for some reason, that's the only time I watch CNBC, is just to watch this complete meltdown. You know, speaking of people who don't know how to detach.
And that's the bottom. That's the bottom. When there's meltdowns on CNBC, you're close to a bottom.
Yeah, I've always felt like the bottom comes a little bit later when it's, God, what's the word? Defeatism, to where people are saying, hey, this might just be the new normal. And this, we should just expect this to happen for the next few years. And there's really no positive news out there. There's no liquidity in the market, blah, blah, blah. That, to me, kind of the fallout from the move down, that tells me the bottom is at least starting to come in. But hey, you and I could really go back and forth on this for a while.
But let me jump on that, because we have a term at Maverick called capitulation. And capitulation happens on both the bullish side and the bearish side. So when you have a long bull market, and when my perma bears that I just cannot get to jump on the bull side, when they finally say, yeah, AI is probably going to change the world for good, I'm going to get in. I'm always like, oh shit. Oh shit. When the most bearish person who's fought the market has finally decided to capitulate and give in, yeah, you're close to a top. And same thing with on the bottom. So capitulation is a perfect word for that.
And that's the word I was looking for. Thank you for finally saying it. Yeah, this just recently happened with a podcast I really like. This guy interviews people on the Bitcoin side and on the altcoin side. And as soon as Bitcoin started getting more dominant, he started migrating that way too and almost became a bit of a maxi. And he even went on the record saying, he goes, altcoins may never go up again. And I go, bottom. bottom signal. And no kidding, altcoin season probably started 2 days later. So you're right. When that last holdout finally capitulates and gives up, that's a really good signal to at least start. I mean, even if you're a little bit too early, you're not going to be that early. You know, you could do a lot worse. So moving on here, because again, this is a Rob Reinhold original that we did on the show that I thought was just so fantastic. I think we need to remind the audience, and we have a lot of newer people watching this too. Maybe they didn't see this episode, but trading in blocks and tracking your quarterly performance, and then which kind of begats yearly performance. Can you go over that just briefly one more time and kind of explain what that was all about? Because I thought that was a piece of advice I wish I had so many years ago.
Is the entire idea that, when you make a trade, it's going to be a binary decision. And anytime you have a binary decision, there's lots of emotions tied up into, like, do I go left or do I go right? And how big of the result is going to be is how big that decision is. And so as new traders, we go out and we fight this battle. Every single trade, this binary decision or, in or out. Do I hold or do I exit? And I say, stop doing that. Say, I want to win over 25 trades. I want to win over a block of trades. So you're going to make 25 trades, and all you're trying to do is to have more winners than losers. Have a better profit factor on your winners than you do on your losers. And then you won. And all of a sudden, you've taken away that binary fight of every single trade, and it's now about the system. It's now about, I need to make a profit over 25 trades. I need to make a profit over a quarter. I need to make a profit over a year. And then you're not fighting every trade because it doesn't mean anything. It's the best way to detach from the current trade you're in is to have it be a group of 25 that is going to get evaluated and scored after.
And this is really the difference between firms out there, trading and investing firms who have been successful for a very long time, compared to the ones who just don't last very long. It's that the latter sets these expectations on their traders and their investors, which makes them, as you and I joke about all the time, Rob, trade harder, which is never, ever a positive, puts extreme amounts of pressure on you. And at the end of the day, you didn't get there by trading harder, or what you got there probably by taking way too much risk. And this is absolutely going to affect you and make you flame out later. And that's why these firms just simply don't make it, to where the longer ones understand the bigger picture. And so that leads me into a possible solution, because I really like yours, Rob. So many people took that and ran with it when you said it. This one is something I came up with at the very beginning of my channel, and I have since expanded it further, and that is to simply trade on higher time frames if you're having trouble detaching. The best way to spend less time looking at charts is to have a time frame that requires you to spend less time looking at charts. I would tell people too, take the trading apps off of your phone, because you're going to sit there and look at them all day. And everybody's like, what? I thought that's part of trading. I'm like, no, it's not. It's totally counterintuitive. I get that. I know the imagery you saw in your head when people were glamorizing this trading lifestyle to you, where that was that guy sitting in front of 8 different screens watching all these things happen at one time and being completely keyed into the market. Oh my God, is that the wrong way to trade and the wrong way to detach yourself? And it even came to the point now, this is more or less like I can trade the daily chart, no problem, but I was having issues missing days and sometimes blocks of days because of my travel schedule. And so I transitioned over to the weekly. And man, if I thought I was detached before, Rob, oh my God, I just have to check in really any time on Friday. It kind of doesn't matter. I like to try to make it in the afternoon, but I can just kind of check in whenever, see what's going on, do my 10 to 15 minutes of trading for the week, and then I'm done. I don't even care what Powell says anymore. I don't care what NFP says. I don't care what Trump says. It's just, man.
How boring. That is so boring.
Right? But I have... and I don't want to bury the lead here, because I kind of have the grand finale here coming up, but I'm totally okay with that for one particular reason. So before I give that reason, do you have anything to say to the higher time frame idea?
I think it's a great idea. And sadly, we all do it the opposite way. We all get into trading and we all are on a 1-minute chart or a 5-minute chart. And then we realize, this is harder than I thought. Let me go to a 15-minute chart. Let me go to an hour chart. Let me go to a 4-hour chart. Yeah, sadly, it should be the other way around. People should start on a weekly chart or a monthly chart and then go the other way, because it does get exponentially harder because you're making more and more decisions. And if your trading psychology isn't perfect, you're going to be making a lot of errors along the way, which always cost you money. So I love the idea of higher time frames, and I wish the rule was when you started trading, you start on a monthly chart.
Yeah, and like Rob just said, how many people go from the 5-minute chart to the 15 and just get higher and higher in time frames? And then how many people honestly go the other way? Once you go higher time frames, man, you never look back. It just doesn't make sense anymore. You're like, oh, this can actually be a really great trading lifestyle too, and I make more money. Yeah, sign me up. Everybody thinks you're going to make more money by getting in there on smaller charts and getting that quick money and being done with it. No, you can spend less time trading on higher time frames, also have a better quality of life because your emotions aren't going crazy all the time, and spend less time trading, which is the whole reason people get into lower time frames in the first place. They want to make that money in 15 minutes and then leave. Well, you can also make money in 15 minutes and leave on the daily chart and reap all the benefits that it gives you. So transitioning into the last one I had, Rob, feel free to add on if you've thought of one, but the last one we have on our list here is one of the biggest reasons why I don't care about my trading results nearly as much as I did before is because I have built out different income streams, and trading is no longer my ticket out. It hasn't been for a long time. Even before YouTube, I had other things going on, which is why, when I started my channel, or started my blog, I didn't have to run ads on my blog because I hate them. But people do it anyway because it's free money. I don't run mid-roll ads on my videos to this day. I never did before. It's good money. It's easy money. It's completely passive money. Why wouldn't you do it? Because I just didn't want to, and I just didn't need to. I had other income sources apart from everything else I was doing. And those income sources have only proliferated and grown now. So, let's say if I don't do 20% return on my trading this year and it's 13 or 14, it's like, so what? Like, my bank account will still be fine. So that is a big way for me to detach. The whole 8 Mile thing you and I talk about, you don't just get one chance to make it. Trading doesn't have to be your only thing, and it shouldn't be your only thing. It should be one of many things, because that is a perfect way to not only detach, but to also maximize your results, which I have noticed the more I have detached over time, the better and more consistent my results have gotten.
Let me say to everybody who is listening to this the exact same thing that the psychologist told my brother. Expectations are a bitch, aren't they? If you have the expectation that this is going to lead you to mansions and Ferraris and all that stuff, boy, 1 out of a million is going to be right there doing it, but there's going to be a whole lot of disappointed people on the way. Set your expectations at the right place with the right ways, and it's really going to help you stay involved in trading and stay profitable.
Yeah, and we've all been there. I remember when I first started trading, I told my mom I was going to buy our house, because I found it. I knew what I was going to do. I found the magic formula with the magic indicator, and the rest was going to be history. And that dream lasted about a week until reality really hit me in the face. So really, to kind of take it back to everything here, traders, we've mentioned variations of this before, but we really want to hone in on the detachment side of things. Because it really, the less emotion you spend into something, even if it's there, the more you can detach yourself, the better everything is going to be. And hopefully we have laid out a good blueprint as to how to do that. So do you have anything else to add before we sign off here, Rob?
Nope. Just again, expectations are a bitch, aren't they?
They really are. I can't think of one time where they haven't been. So that's kind of one of the great new things I think we've kind of brought up on this show that we've really never talked about before. So we hope you enjoyed it, traders. And on behalf of Rob here and myself at the Trading Psychology Podcast, we will both see you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everybody.